Miserable.
We are ready.
Welcome to the zone. Something I have to say. Let's title this hair color. And I'll be a little facetious for a minute. I was going to take a job recently as a person to demonstrate how you can color hair. So I took this job and they tried to make my hair dark. It didn't actually work. So now you see the result is my hair is still white. I'm reminded of the hair coloring formula that's got a man's picture on it. And it has two purposes. One purpose is if you want to dye your hair a different color, a darker color, or two, if you want to enhance the gray. What I discovered when I held the cartons next to each other, it was the same guy in the same hair color on both cartons. I said, what are they trying to do to me here? So I tried dyeing my hair, it didn't work. So I live with this color. It is what it is. So they didn't get that job for hair color models, so here I am in Positive Humanity. It's probably a bit more serious anyway. So with that, we're going to go on. There's a lot of serious things going on. Anyway, welcome to the zone, the Positive Humanity Zone. Today we're going to do a little bit about Obamacare, or what they properly should call it, the Affordable Care Act. I know there's a lot of going back and forth about this. A lot of people don't seem to understand it. It was not explained correctly. The idea to do this whole thing was to be able to cover most of America with healthcare, and also to help to solve some of the inherent problems that exist in healthcare today. When a country like this spends twice per person on healthcare as any other industrialized nation in the world, and you get 40, 50 million people that aren't covered, there's something wrong with that picture. Now, I'm not here to take political sides, you know, with the ages of Positive Humanity, what we just try to figure out is what's right, what's wrong, what's positive, what's negative. So, if you look at it initially, you might say the Affordable Care Act, or as the detractors like to say, Obamacare, is meant to solve some serious problems within our healthcare system. So, is it right and positive to want to help the healthcare system and help people get healthcare? I probably think that it is. It's the right thing to do. It's the positive thing to do. So how do you fix that? If the country were working together to fix this, we would have a system already in place years ago, and it would have been very successful. Right now, they're fighting over what's going on because one party decides to do some good, and without help from the other, it was kind of a contradictory plan. So what I would say is you have to look at what we are trying to accomplish with healthcare. So you would go by some of the negatives. A couple of the negatives are in healthcare today, prior to this act, this law, were lifetime caps on people's health insurance. So if you had a child born with a terrible disease or some handicap, you know, you had a lifetime cap. They might use up that lifetime cap before they were 1 or 2 years old. So the insurance companies decided we wouldn't cover you because they figured the liability would be in infinity what they would have to cover if the child lived many, many years. The other thing, of course, is people would have great health care, work for an employer, and let's suppose they develop diabetes and they're working for an employer, and all of a sudden they get fired for whatever reason. And they go into the healthcare market, and the very first question they're asked is, do you have a prior existing condition? Well, guess what? Diabetes is a prior condition, which means the insurance companies would say, guess what? Sayonara, goodbye, we don't need you, because you're only going to cost us money. So you can't even get the insurance unless you pay a huge exorbitant amount through backdoor channels. So, and then you have a whole bunch of care that people are denied because they can't seem to, I'm going to say that again. So you had what you had was a lot of inequities in the system. Healthy people were having no problem getting covered. unhealthy people couldn't get coverage. There were lifetime caps, and there's no way you could tell if you could lose a job, and then you lose your health care, and then you're really up a creek without a paddle or even a boat. So how do you solve that? With only, say, 40 million people not covered and 260 million covered in insurance in this country, you have a smaller insurance pool. So the basic positive aspect here is to be able to get 40 more million people into that pool. You reduce the costs, everybody is covered, no one has to go to an emergency room to get health care, and you bring all the premiums and the costs down. Those that can't afford, you supplement their premiums with what we have in this country called Medicaid. Medicaid was a great thing invented to help the poor people be able to help health care costs, because health care is such a huge part of all our society, of what we have to do. So the positive is people went out and they said, you know what, and this took a long time to do, let's go out and help these people. Let's go out and correct the inequities of the system. So you get committees set up and they go out to try to do it. And as much as you can solve a problem, be positive, if you've got all this negative on this side, constantly shooting arrows and bullets at you, the system that is set up is not perfect. It becomes dented and got holes in it. And so what happens is this positive system got a whole bunch of negative holes and arrows into it. So guess what? One side is not happy, the other side is not happy. And me, the American people, we're suffering for it. We're the ones that are paying for the price. If the positive and negative had gotten together and decided to say, we're going to cover these 40 million people, we're going to eliminate lifetime caps, we're going to cover pre-existing conditions, we're not going to make pregnancy or women's issues a pre-existing condition, we're going to cover everybody, we're going to leave children on their parents' policies until the age of 26 because most of them are still in college. So all of these things that are fair, right, and just are not only positive and just and fair, it's also going to bring the cost curve down. I mean, it's simple. It's not even, it's just simple arithmetic. 2 and 2 equals 4. When you have 320 million people, 310 million in this country covered, and everyone is paying a premium, some subsidized, some not, you're going to spread all that risk and all those costs around. That's the utopia. This is what this is what people were trying to achieve. Right now, we're about halfway there. Things are going to have to change, and the point is, with this Affordable Care Act, it will work, because guess what? The alternative isn't an option. And you know what? For all the people that are kvetching and complaining about it and upset about it, and some on both sides are upset about it, you know where the truth is going to lie? You know where the positive is going to lie? In the end, it's either going to work or it ain't going to work. There's only 1 or 2 answers. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. The unfortunate part about that, if you have to start over again, I can't imagine going to some parent saying that your kid now can no longer have his cap, that he has to stop his medication. I can no longer go to that person who just lost his job and finally got insurance, and I say, you know what? You're off the roll. You're being kicked off because insurance companies don't want you because you're too big of a risk. We can't get the other people into that pool. Is that fair? Is that right? Positive? No, it's not. It's negative. So, simple comes down to fairness. What's really fair? What is fair about the healthcare system, and what can we do to solve this? As I've heard a few people joke, if it succeeds, and no one's going to want to call it Obamacare that doesn't want it to be Obamacare. If it fails, they're going to call it something else. I say, instead of rushing to judgment, help to fix this broken house. The foundation's been broken. We got to place the bricks and all the mortar in there together. We got to fix all the holes. And just go back to the one simple thing. What's fair and what's not fair? There's nothing simpler than that. Positive, negative, fair, unfair. And if you think treating people with pre-existing conditions is fair, differently than those who don't, well, that's your problem. In my opinion, and you say, well, people can always go to the emergency room. You go to the emergency room, they'll fix you up. You got a heart condition, they'll fix your heart, whatever they're doing. Where's the follow-up? There's no follow-up. Where are you going to get a doctor if you haven't got health care? They'll pick you up from an accident. They'll pick you up off the street because that's the human thing to do, the humane thing to do. I mean, my gosh, and people brag that no American will be turned away from the emergency room. Well, thank you very much. Are they atheists? Not that I have anything against atheists, but where's the God-fearing people? What did the Lord tell everybody? You ignore these people? You kick them in the gut? No, you help your fellow man. And this healthcare is a critical thing. People die because they haven't got healthcare. People die because they can't get the proper care. And it isn't just the emergency room. I mean, I come from New York City. You don't want to know. Trust me, this has to be fixed. And I believe that it will, because in the end, in my positive humanity mold that I exist right now, and that I push and I plan for, it will work. We need to be a little patient, and we need to have this thing with cooler heads prevail, that we go on and fix the things that are wrong. But you're not going to scrub the whole thing. We're too far into it now. Too many people are now depending on the Affordable Care Act, because that's exactly what it is. It's an Affordable Care Act. And when it's totally implemented properly and these pieces are fixed, it will be affordable. It will be care. You know? So, I say, in summation, that's the right thing to do. Just think about what's positive, what's negative. I mean, you can shoot all the arrows and bullets you want. But when they turn to you, the one who is shooting these arrows and bullets, and you say, well, what's your alternative? You just can't sit there and assassinate me. If you assassinate me, what do you got? You ain't got nothing but your gun and your arrows and your bow and arrow. That's all you have. You haven't got any idea. You're not even thinking about the people. You just have that dislike for me and my plan that you just want to sink it. Well, that ain't going to accomplish it. We need to work together on this. So, let's go forward. Let's be positive. Let's create something that's going to work for the American people. This is too important. It consumes too much of us today. And health is everything. Trust me. All the money in the world can't buy one day of bad health.